Welcome to QueAquatics and Exotics. My name's Suzy, and today I want to talk about a 2.5-gallon aquarium. So I want to go over the pros and the cons of this aquarium and what fish I can put in them.
Hey everybody, it's SuzyQue and I'm here to show you just what I do. I have a passion for fish and exotics too, so come along with me, it's SuzyQue. Hey.
So this aquarium would have to probably be my smallest aquarium that I have in all my fish rooms. Some of the reasons I really like this tank is it's just like seems like the perfect size. I can lift it. I don't need assistance lifting it. It's easy to clean out. Water changes are as easy as, where's my cup? I don't have a cup. As easy as scooping out a couple cups of water, adding a couple cups in it. It's the smallest of heaters. I particularly use sponge filters, and it's a very small pump needed. The pump you can even use like a USB powered pump or one of the small pumps that they have on for sale. I also saw that fishkeeping.com sells specific heater and filter for a tiny tank. So you should check out Keep Fish Keeping. I'll put a link down in the description below. Another reason I like this small tank is I can put it just about anywhere. Say it's about 8 pounds per gallon, but I always round it up to about 10 to take into consideration, you know, my rocks, sand, plants. So that'd be about 20-25 pounds. I don't need an extra sturdy table with support system. I can put it right on my desk at work. And it's large enough that you can get a little creative with your aquascaping if you have a fine eye for detail. I myself am very much into miniatures, fairy gardens, and tiny scapes. So this is like vast aquarium to aquascape in. Okay, not vast. Vastly small. But yeah, all in all, I absolutely love it. And I think it comes in handier for me because I have another tank. For me, I could put small fish in there to grow out a little bit. Whereas if this was my only tank, it's got to be a one and done. You can't put any fish to grow out because then now you have to get another tank. So I can put some of my endlers in there, my endler fry in there while they grow out a little bit. If I have any one of these fish start picking on someone, any one of my nano fish, it's a great tank for a timeout tank. It's also very convenient for some of my smaller fish as a quarantine tank. In my quarantine tank, they're only going to be in there about 2 or 3 weeks, just to make sure there's nothing wrong. And in my quarantine tank, I don't medicate unless I see a reason to. So it's real easy to do water changes every day, keep an eye on my fish. It's right on my desktop so I can see it clearly. I really like this aquarium for a lot of reasons, but there's also some reasons I'm not very fond of it. Some of the reasons I'm not so fond of it is I have to be on my A game. There's a lot of my tanks, I don't have to do water changes for a week and a half, 2 weeks. But my 2.5 gallon, I can push it off to every 3 days, but it's not something that if you just want to set up a tank and do as minimal amount as work, the 2.5 gallon is not going to be for you. Because it's a little more frequent water changes for the enjoyment of having this nice tiny tank. Hey guys, this is Suzy in the future. While I was editing this film, I remembered that I forgot to mention one of the other challenges I have with such a small tank, and that's matching the water perimeters. So I want to make sure that I have the same tap water at the same room temperature all the time with the same conditioner. Doing frequent water changes actually helps keep the TDS about the same. The farther away your water changes are, your TDS will build up a little bit. So frequent water changes, making sure I have the water sitting out, helps with 2 of the most glaring challenges that I have with this small tank. There's a lot more uses for this 2.5 gallon tanks because I have multiple tanks. So it comes in handy, but if the 2.5 gallon would be my only aquarium, then I would keep my betta fish. Love them. There's plenty of room to aquascape, to give enrichment. And especially some of my females. I sometimes have to separate my females, and this is the tank that they would go in. So yes, the betta fish. Now, I hate to sound cliche, but the bigger the better. And that is so true. Even with betta fish. I know a lot of people don't think so, but it is true. But if you stay up on top of your game, a 2.5 gallon will be just fine. Another fish I put in my tank is the pea puffer. If you've never owned a puffer fish and have always wanted to, but you see how massive they get, pea puffer might be the perfect fish for you. I keep a pea puffer. I keep one pea puffer in my 2.5 gallon aquarium. I feed him little frozen bloodworms. And he's just absolutely adorable. He's like a little puppy dog. He's very much aware when I come in the room. He watches me until I come closer to the tank. He's pretty cool. Now, could I put a couple in here? Maybe, but I wouldn't. I would want something a little bigger because they can get a little territorial. And a 2.5 gallon is really not enough room to make different territories. So for my sake, I just keep one puffer in my 2.5 gallon tank. Now there may be other fish that people can keep in a 2.5 gallon. These are the only two fish I can think of. But I do also keep my shrimp in a 2.5 gallon. My Neocaridina shrimp. I make little tiny hiding spots for them. Have lots of beautiful plants in with them. And they will be fruitful and multiply. And when I have my Neocaridina shrimp in there, I don't need a heater in this tank. So it makes it a little bit easier. I don't need a heater because my ambient room temperature here is already like 65, 70. So it's just fine for my Neocaridina cherry shrimp. Something else I keep in my 2.5 gallon aquarium are my snails. I love snails. There's the Nearite snail. That is spectacular in colors, not going to breed, which would be perfect for this tank. So that's worked out. I did have a dwarf African frog, but I found quite quickly that it wasn't enough room for my frog to move around in. So that one didn't work out. I ended up moving him into my 10-gallon tank with some endlers, and he is so happy. So anyway, those are my top picks that I would put in my 2.5 gallon aquarium. So you should stay tuned because my next video, I'm going to be revamping my 2.5 gallon rack. So instead of looking at it lengthwise, I'm going to look at it sidewise. We'll see if I can fit a second layer on top. Getting a little close though. So if you're thinking about getting a 2.5 gallon aquarium, think real hard. Because if you can get bigger, I would get bigger. But if you only have room for a 2.5, or you only were given permission for a small amount, or you only have that tiny dresser space, it's absolutely doable. Just have to be on top of your water changes, cleaning out the tank, making sure that your fish stay healthy. But there's a lot of options out there for 2.5 gallon, more than you might think. From fish, shrimp, puffer. I would never criticize anybody for using a 2.5 gallon tank because I use them. I hope this was helpful, and I will see you next time.
Hey, everybody, it's SuzyQue. Hey, everybody, it's SuzyQue. Nah, hey, everybody, it's SuzyQue. So come along with me. Said I'm SuzyQue.